round off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet. Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Detective Sergeant, you're assigned to robbery detail. A man has been found in the trunk of an automobile. He's been badly beaten and is suffering from shock. Your job? Investigate. Here's what the nation's press has had. Either way you... Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, February 18th. It was raining in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 10:48 p.m. when I got back to the car. Unit 1K. Still wet out in it. Was he in? No, he's the guy who gave us the big story about carrying the lunch bucket. Always home by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. There was a call while you were out. Someone locked in a car trunk. We better roll on it.
Yeah.
What do you figure about your informant?
I don't know. This rain, he's holed up someplace. He's not on the street.
He's your boy, Joe. You ever come up with anything worthwhile?
Well, he used to. Gotten to be an awful light now. He can't stay sober long enough. Always talking about joining AA, but he never seems to get around to it.
Too bad. Doing good if you give him a chance. If you want to be helped, they're the ones who can do it.
Well, I'll try to catch him in the morning, huh? It's getting late. I'm tired.
Yeah, I could use some sleep. Hey, when we see this guy, you think he'll be able to give us anything?
I don't know. Fancy might. He might be able to come up with something.
Doesn't figure, Joe. Nice job they pulled. There's not a rumble in town on him. Not even a close identification.
Well, we don't turn him soon. It's going to be out of our hands. Be something for homicide to work on.
You think this trunk deal might be the same one?
Well, if it's them, this makes number 10 for him. The old man will scream his head off in the morning. Sure won't help his ulcer. He'll be sipping milk all day.
He just graduated to soft-boiled eggs. This thing will put him right back on the sippy diet. Poor idiot. Thieves and ulcers. He just can't win.
Now, that must be it up there, Frank. Guy waving the radio car.
Oh, yeah. There's 184 just coming in, too.
Yeah. That's good here. You want to get out my side?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right around the corner, officer. I'm the one who called.
It didn't take you long to get here. I'll show you. Right around here?
Yes. All right, Joe, Frank.
You police officers, too?
Yes, sir. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do? I'm Carl Miller. I own the drugstore on the corner. I'm the one who found the car, you know.
Yes, sir. If you'd show us the car.
Yeah, sure thing. Around this way. I'm going way back from Miss Dalton. Ordered some college bills for babies. Perhaps this car sort of hurt something.
Yes, sir.
I walked by, then I got to thinking that maybe something might be wrong. So I went back. I looked in the car, but I couldn't see anything.
Yeah?
Well, I figured that maybe it might be my imagination. You know, maybe something else. And I heard this voice. Sounded like it was coming from the trunk. Tried to get it open, but it was locked. That's when I called you.
Is this it?
Yes, sir. Put your ear against the trunk. You can probably hear him.
Yeah, let me see. There's somebody in there. Let's see if we can get this thing open, huh? Well, there ain't something to pry it open. Got anything in your car, Al?
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe there's something in here. I'll look.
No, sir. Please don't touch the car.
What?
Don't touch the car, sir.
Oh, sure. You want to look for fingerprints? Should have thought of it myself. I'll check my drawer. Should have something in there.
All right, fine. Al?
Yeah.
You want to see if you got anything in your trunk?
Yeah, I'll check it.
Fine.
All right, sir. We're police officers. We'll get you out.
Same one, huh, Joe?
Yeah, looks like him. Same them all.
Lousy thing. Locking up guy in the
Joe? Yeah.
There's this boy in the trunk. You want to try it?
Yeah, fine. Here.
Yeah. Let me help you.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, all right.
Here. I think I got it. Yeah. That's good. Here.
Oh, let's get it open.
Give me a hand, please.
Yeah, I'll help you around it. It's all right, sir. Get me out of there. I'll get the tape on. Couldn't think anybody's fun. Thought close the gauntlet.
That's okay now. You want to tell us what happened, sir?
Sure.
I got him, Frank. Yeah. Better get an ambulance, Al.
Right. Hey, let's get him under that awning over there out of the rain.
Right.
Easy now. What do you figure?
I don't know. Lay him down. Here. Take my coat.
Cover him up. Yes, look at it, officer. It's all like this. Oh, You already got it open?
Yes, sir, we did.
A little bitty screwdriver probably wouldn't have worked anyway.
Oh, thank you anyway, sir.
Sure thing. Anything else I can do for you?
No, sir, it's all right.
Nothing you need? Nothing at all?
Well, not much. You got a good remedy for ulcers. 11:01 p.m. The ambulance arrived and took the victim to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. Frank and I followed in our car. This was the 10th in a series of kidnappings in which the suspects obtained cars to use in armed robberies. After beating the victims, they'd lock them in the trunk of the car, and after completion of the robberies, they'd abandon the automobile with the victims tied and gagged in the trunk. Although to date none of the victims had been killed, we knew it was only a matter of time until the suspects kidnapped somebody who would be incapable of standing the treatment, and we'd not only have a robbery but a murder to deal with. The holdups had been going on for a period of 6 weeks. Frank and I followed up what leads we could, but they brought us nothing. None of the victims could describe the suspects other than to tell us they were male, white Americans, and that one of them spoke with a southern drawl. 11:17 p.m. We arrived at the hospital. The victim had been placed in treatment room number 3. Dr. George Hall was treating him. Frank and I went into the room to talk to the doctor.
Hi, Joe. Frank.
Hi, Danny. How is he?
Oh, he's all right. Suffering from shock. Got a nasty abrasion on his right cheek. I gave him a sedative to quiet him down. He'll be okay in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to him?
A trunk bandage again.
Vicious bunch.
You going to release him, Doc?
Yeah, I'll be all right in 15 or 20 minutes. You know his name? I want to make out his treatment card.
No, he passed out on us before we could get it.
He's coming around now. Oh, you're all right now, fella. Just relax. Take it easy. Here. See if you can sit up here on the edge of the table. Joe?
Yeah, Doc.
You want to pour a glass of water? Cups over there on the wall.
Yes, sir.
I'll get you some water, sir. That's it. Now, just sit quiet. Easy.
There you are, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Thirsty. Right, if we talk to him, Doc?
Sure, go ahead. Will you tell us what happened, sir?
Yeah. About 7:45, Maid, that's my wife, said we were out of coffee. We were having late dinner, so while she finished fixing it, I went out to get some.
Yes.
I got down to Pico and Union. Signal was working. Stop. I pulled up. There were 2 guys standing on the safety zone. You know, like they were waiting for a streetcar.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the time was a lousy thing having to stand out in the rain waiting for a streetcar.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, the next thing I knew, one of them opened the door up in front. When he opened the door, I figured that maybe it was somebody that knew me. It was dark, you know. Couldn't see too well. The other one opened the back door and got right in the car. I knew darn soon I didn't know these guys.
Sir?
Well, the fellow in front had a gun, pointed right at me. Looked like a cannon, biggest gun I ever saw. Tell you I was scared.
Yes.
Told me to pull up the curb. I did.
What happened then?
Told me to get in the back seat. I told them they could take my money, car, whatever they wanted. Just let me go. And the guy in the back told me to shut up and get back there with him. I asked him again to let go. Told him I wouldn't say anything. Said if they'd just let me go, I wouldn't tell anyone. I was scared, you know.
Yes, sir, we understand.
The guy in the front got a real wild look in his eye. Looked like he was crazy. I tried to get out of the car and he hit me. Side of the head with that gun. Then they grabbed me, threw me in the back seat, hauled me right over the front. Just dumped me on the floor in the back.
What'd you do then?
Oh, nothing. I just laid there. Figured that maybe they'd think I was out cold and leave me alone.
Then what happened?
Well, the guy in the back took a roll of adhesive tape out of his pocket, wrapped around my wrists and ankles.
Well, what'd they do then, sir?
Well, they still thought I was knocked out. The guy in the front said, get me out of the car. Big fellow opened the door, lifted me out, picked me up like a sack of potatoes. The guy with a gun ran around, opened the trunk, and they threw me in. One of my legs was over the bumper, and the big guy grabbed it and twisted it so it had fit in the trunk. Almost died, but I didn't dare let him know it wasn't out.
Mm-hmm. And after that?
He locked the car and drove away. Must have drove for a while, and they stopped.
Mm-hmm. You got any idea how long they drove, sir? How far?
I couldn't see anything. Couldn't hear much. Just a little mumbling. I know they stopped at the gas station, though.
Oh, how's that, sir?
Well, right after we stopped, I heard one of them yell at somebody. I couldn't tell what he was yelling, but then a little while, I heard somebody come back, take the gas cap off of the tank. Then I heard the gas go in the tank right in front of the trunk.
That's it.
Well, after the guys put the cap back on the tank, I heard one of the guys say something about stick-up.
Well, why you were stopped? Did you try to let the gas station attendant know that you were in the trunk?
Oh, sure. And I tried to kick the trunk, but the way they twisted my leg, putting me in, I couldn't move. They gagged me, too. Put a big piece of adhesive piece of tape over my mouth. No, sir, I tried to let the guy know. I just couldn't do it.
You said that you heard one of them say, this is a stick-up.
Yeah. Those were the words you used, too. This is a stick-up.
Why don't you go ahead, sir?
Well, there was some quiet talking after that. I couldn't tell what was going on, and they drove away again.
You have no idea where this gas station was?
No. I'm sorry, but I was being bounced around that trunk. My head hurt where they hit me. I know they turned some corners, but I couldn't even guess where the station might be.
All right, sir. What happened then?
Same thing. They'd drive for a while and they'd stop. They'd get out of the car, then come back. We'd start to drive again. So finally they parked. I waited for them to come back. They didn't. I tried to get the gag off my mouth so I could yell for help. Rubbed my face against the spare tire and got loose. Then I yelled, kicked my feet against the trunk. I just about given up when you found me. Not sure I was through. It was getting hard to breathe in there.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
No, you can't. Until you've been locked in the trunk. Nobody can imagine that. Terrible. Just terrible. Say, have you called me? That's my wife. Have you called her?
No, sir, we haven't.
Oh, she'll be hopping mad. What time is it?
It's 11:45, sir.
Almost 4 hours to get a pound of coffee. She'll be raising the roof. Would you call her? Tell her where I am?
Yes, sir, I'll call her. Want to give me the number?
Madison 34656.
Uh-huh.
Tell her you're calling for Henry. Explain what happened.
All right, sir, right away.
Officer.
Yeah?
Be sure to tell her you're a policeman. She'll believe you.
Yes, sir. I have a couple of questions, sir. I have to fill out this card.
Sure. I hate to ask. Could I have another cup of water?
I'll get it down.
What do you want to know?
Your full name.
Henry J. Hilldale.
Hildale?
Uh-huh, I have that.
All right, sir, here's your water.
Thank you. I don't know why I'm so thirsty. Dust in the trunk, I guess. Got my throat.
Yes, sir. Now, what's your address, Mr. Hildale?
920 North Lebanon Avenue. Phone number is Madison 34656.
4656. How old?
48. Be 49 this October.
All right, Mr. Hildale. You have a way to get home. We'll run him home, Doc.
Well, what about my car? Can't I take it?
Well, we're going to have to process it for fingerprints, sir. We can release it to you in the morning.
You called me?
Yes, sir. I just talked to her.
Was she sore?
Well, she was a little upset. Worried about you.
But you told her about what happened.
Yes, sir. Everything's all right now.
That's good.
Mr. Hildale.
Yes, Doctor.
You can leave now. I suggest you see your own doctor in the morning. Just check up.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks a lot for your trouble. Sure appreciate it.
That's okay. No, it's just this way. The elevator's down here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get the button. Same story, huh, Joe? Yeah. One big trouble. What's that? We're hearing it too often. 12:18 p.m. We left Georgia Street Receiving Hospital and drove Mr. Hildale back to his home. On the way, we asked him for a description, but he was only able to give us a very meager one. We did get enough information from him for our crime report. He told us he'd come in the next day to look through the mug books. We checked into the city hall, got a DI number, and filled out the crime report. We booked the adhesive tape as evidence. The information on the robberies the suspect had pulled that night had come into the office. There had been 3 of them, and among them was a service station Mr. Hildale had told us about. At 1:46 a.m., Frank and I signed out of the office and went home to get some sleep. 7:58 a.m., we talked with Captain Didion.
Here's the description we got from the service station attendant. Want to look at it?
Yes, sir. Same guy.
Frank?
Yes, Skipper.
Want to hand me that milk?
Yeah. Here you are.
Stomach's raising, King. This is the 10th kidnapping and 23rd robbery. 22 going to get off the dime and bring those guys in.
We're doing everything we can, Skipper. You know that.
And it's not enough. I know you guys have been beating your heads against the wall on this thing, but the corner pocket's on my back, and we got to break it.
We've contacted all our informants. We've run down every lead that's turned up. They all go to the same place. No way.
I'm giving the chief every excuse I can. I'm not going to try to tell him anymore. I don't think he'd buy him. You know what? The guys who are pulling these jobs are flesh and blood. They eat and sleep. Somebody in town knows them. They're not phantoms. Let's find them. These guys aren't the brainiest ones in the world. If they were, they wouldn't be getting the car cars the way they do.
Well, yeah, that figures.
How about the car? Find anything?
I called Leighton Prince. They said the car was dry enough to work on. They couldn't tell us anything in. Said they'd call us back.
Mm-hmm. I've been going over their crime reports. Maybe got an idea.
Yeah.
The way it looks, they picked up the cars in one area, pulled the jobs in the same area. Could be that they live in that area.
Makes sense.
They've been working inside a 30-square block, straight down the hill, 7th to Pico. You got a description on them. Talked to the desk clerks at every hotel and boarding house in the area. Robbery, did he? Yeah, he's here. See you, Joe.
Thanks, Clifford. This side. What do you do? You bet. That's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot.
Bergman?
Yeah, just finished the car. It's clean. Not a thing on it. 9:30 a.m. Mr. Hildale got to the city hall, and I took him into the mug room to look at the books. Frank got in touch with Schultz from the police printing lab. We gave him the description of the suspects and their M.O., and the fact that one of them spoke with a southern accent. We asked him to run off 500 flyers for distribution in the area that we were going to canvass. 12:15 p.m.
Sorry, Sergeant. Didn't recognize any of them.
Well, that's all right, sir. I understand.
Don't think his picture was there. I'd feel awful if I saw it and didn't recognize it, but I'm pretty sure you just don't have a picture of the man.
Yes, sir. Well, maybe you'd like to rest a little bit before you look at any more.
Yeah, if I can. Get a little confused looking at so many. After a while, they all begin to look alike.
Yes, sir.
Joe?
Yeah.
See you later?
Sure thing. Excuse me, Mr. Hildale.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just got a call from Charlie Sutton.
San Francisco?
Yeah. Thinks they got our boy. You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Frank went on to tell me that in talking to Inspector Sutton of the San Francisco Police Department, he found out that they thought they had one of the suspects. Sutton said he was apprehended after he kidnapped a man who stopped for a boulevard stop. The suspect had taped the man up and thrown him into the trunk of the automobile. Sutton went on to say that a witness on the street had called the police and furnished them a description of the car and the license number. The kidnapper was apprehended immediately. He refused to talk, and further investigation disclosed that the suspect was a PZ from Los Angeles. Inspector Sutton told us that he'd send us stand-up mugs of the suspect by airmail special delivery. The following morning, when we received the mugs, we showed them to the victims of the robberies in the Los Angeles area. Several of them positively identified the man. Others stated that he resembled the suspect, and some of the victims were unable to give any identification of the suspect at all. In view of the circumstances, Frank and I were ordered to take two of the most reliable witnesses up to San Francisco in order to observe the suspect in person. We signed the out-of-town book, checked out a trip car, picked up our witnesses, and left for the Bay Area. 7:15 p.m. We checked into the San Francisco police station on Kearny Street. A special show-up was arranged for the victims from Los Angeles. They failed to give a positive identification of the suspect, but both of them said that he could be one of the men involved in the robberies. 8:20 p.m. We talked to the suspect, Jack Webster, in Inspector Sutton's office.
What are you guys trying to
We're not trying to prove anything, Webster. We want the facts.
Well, that's what I'm giving you. Seems when you get them, you don't want to
Look,
believe.
we got two people outside that came all the way up here from L.A. Both of them say you're the guy who stole their cars and beat them up.
Well, they're both crazy.
According to the report, you pulled the kidnapping just like the ones who were pulled down south. How about that?
So it looks the same. That mean I did it?
Looks like it. We ran your name through R&I down in Los Angeles. There's a tab on your card for PVs. You know that?
What?
Galloway in Los Angeles wants you for parole violation.
Oh, well, I think I can explain that.
I don't think you can, Webster. Galloway says he hasn't heard from you for the past 6 weeks. That's how long these robberies have been going on. You look awful good for him.
So I maybe skipped town. I was going to report up here. I got a job. Now I'm trying to go straight.
How about the job they got you for now?
I needed a little extra dough. You know, something came up. I read about those jobs in L.A. I figured it might work for me. Thought maybe you'd figure it was the same guys.
Yeah, we do.
You got it all wrong. Sure, you got me nailed for this one, but that's all. I had nothing to do with him in L.A.
Our witnesses seem to think otherwise.
You tell your witnesses they're full of cheese. I didn't have anything to do with him. Now, I'm sorry, boy. You got me tagged for a job up here. Nothing else.
How'd you figure that?
Well, how long did you say those jokers been working in L.A.?
About 6 weeks.
Then you got nothing on me.
Yeah.
Sure, I haven't left town for a month and a half, and I can prove it.
Jack Webster told us that he's been registered at a hotel on Geary Street for the past month and a half. Further, he said that he's been working in a foundry in South San Francisco for the same period of time. We checked both of the places out and found that he was telling the truth. He was filed on in San Francisco for grand theft auto and kidnapping. Sunday, February 22nd, we Angeles, took our witnesses to their homes, and checked into the office. We called Captain Gideon and found that there had been no new developments in the case. Frank and I went home to get some sleep. Monday morning, 7:45 a.m., we signed into the office. We picked up the flyers and started to canvass the area where we thought the hold-up men were living. During the first day, we were able to check out 28 places. Tuesday, the 24th, it started to rain again. At 8:30 a.m., we started to canvass the rest of the hotels, rooming houses, and boarding houses in the area. For 3 days, we talked to the day and the night clerk in each place. We left each of them a flyer with the description of the men and our cards, asking them to call us if anyone answering the description should register at their particular place. For 3 days, it rained. Saturday, February 28th.
Think it'll ever stop, Joe?
There sure is yet.
Yeah. Looks like the guys we wanted dropped off the face of the earth. Nobody's seen or heard of them. I never realized there were so many hotels in L.A.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Well, let's try this one.
All right.
Yeah, something you want?
We're police officers, sir. Here's our ID.
What's that?
Police officers.
Oh, police.
That's right, sir.
Yeah, police. Well, what do you want?
We'd like to know if you've got anyone here who answers these descriptions.
Like this, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's kind of hard to say. If you had a picture of them, it might help.
I'm sorry, sir. We don't have a picture, just that description.
Yeah, it could be the fellas at 4-8. They sure fit what it says here. Yeah, I bet it's them. I knew we should have called you fellas about.
Sir?
See, the day before yesterday, Amy, she's the girl, cleans up. She's taking care of their room. She said that she opened the closet. She saw a gun laying on the shelf. Right out in the open.
Did you report that to police?
Huh? What'd you say?
Did you report it to the police?
Oh, no. No, I didn't. You see, I figured that, live and let live, as long as it didn't cause you any trouble. I wasn't about to cause any. Amy and me talked about whether we should let you know, but then we decided against it. I didn't see none of we should have.
Why did you tell us when you saw them last, sir?
Oh, well, a couple hours ago.
They registered here?
Yeah, and it's Scott and Ed Willis. They're up in room 4A. Ain't there now, though. Let's see. Well, I'll be darned if he ain't there. Well, I guess you're upset. I must have given the key and didn't remember it.
That's room 408, you said?
What'd you say?
I said that's room 408.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 4A, 4-4. They're up there now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hey, what are you wanting for? Are they dangerous criminals?
Well, we don't know, sir.
Well, be careful. We wouldn't want anything to happen.
Yes, sir. Here, I'll get the button. All right. What do you figure, Joe? I don't know. Hope there are boys. Some elevator. Yeah. Listen to that. Down this way. 402. 404. 406. Here it is. Want to cover me? Yeah.
How is it?
Room clerk.
What do you want?
I'd like to talk to you.
Just a minute.
Hey, you ain't gonna... What's that? All right, mister, on your feet. Come on. How about the other one?
He's out. Here, I'll take him down for you. Stupid, you plain stupid. I told him 100 times.
Stand still. You told him what?
And we should have left. Get out of this lousy town. Going back home.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
Back in the can this time. We'll never get out him and his big ideas. Smart guy. Old Ed, the big brain. Tried to tell him.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll make it this time. You'll have a lot of time to convince him.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On 17th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Andrew J. Scott and Edward S. Winters were tried and convicted on 12 counts of robbery in the first degree and 10 counts of kidnapping for the purposes of robbery. They are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. A hold has been placed on them in the event of parole by the state of Arkansas. First-degree robbery is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for from 5 years to life for each count. In the case of Scott and Winters, these sentences are to run consecutively. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, October 3rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Stein. My name's Friday. It was 1:47 p.m. when we got to Adams High School. Chemistry class.
You the police?
Yes, sir. It's my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
I'm John Lane. This is my class. What little there is left of it. Have you seen Mr. Barlow?
Yes, sir. We talked to him when we came in. I think he's in the clinic now. He said you could give us the stories, all right?
It was the Lambert boy. He came into class about 5 minutes late. We were just starting the lecture on analysis. I told Douglas to take his seat. He said something I couldn't hear, but he went back to his place, and I went on with the lecture.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was about 10 minutes later that the commotion started. The first thing I knew about it, Larry McLean started to yell at Lambert, said something about keeping his mouth closed.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lambert said something about McLean minding his own business. I started off the platform to quiet things down. By the time I got to Douglas, he'd hit McLean. After that, it's all a little confused. Flying apparatus, chemicals being thrown all over the place, glass breaking. The whole class seemed to explode.
Well, were the other members of the class fighting, or was it just the two boys?
It seemed like the whole class was fighting. At the time, it seemed like the whole school was in the room, all throwing things.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I got the Lambert boy aside, and then the fight seemed to stop. In the meantime, he'd thrown a bottle of sulfuric acid at McLean, burned his face and his chest. The ambulance took him to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and nurse here gave him first aid.
Well, do you have any idea what started the argument here?
No, I'm not sure. As I got it later, it seems that Douglas made some remark about a young girl working next to him. I didn't hear it, but I gathered that it was a pretty filthy statement. McLean heard it, and that's when he told Douglas to keep his mouth closed.
Mm-hmm. Lambert is known as a sort of troublemaker, then, is he?
Yes, and it's so hard to understand.
Sir?
Well, up until just lately, I'd say the last 2 months or so, he was a model student. He had a straight-A average.
I wonder if we could see the boy.
I guess so. There isn't anything much I can do here. Terrible. It'll be a couple of weeks before I can hold a class in here again. Terrible.
Yes, sir.
The clinic's down here.
Have you any idea what might have caused this change in the Lambert boy?
Well, I have my own suspicions, but he's only 15. It's hard to believe.
What's that?
When he came into class today, I think he was drunk.
Oh, why do you say that?
I noticed that when he came into the room, he wasn't very steady on his feet. It had to be something like that to make him do this. Then, too, when I grabbed him when they were fighting, I thought I smelled liquor on his... Oh, we go in here.
Fine.
Here's the boy. Douglas?
Yes, sir.
These men would like to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
They're from the police. Mr. Friday and this is Mr. Smith.
Hello?
Hello. Sit down, son.
Yes, sir.
How's Larry?
I don't know. They took him to the hospital.
If you don't mind, Mr. Friday, I'll check with the nurse, see how badly Larry was hurt.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Son, you want to tell us what this is all about?
There's not much to tell. Larry and me got in a fight.
Well, what started the fight, son?
I don't know. He just wanted to cause trouble. Him and me never have gotten along. Always had trouble.
You been drinking, Doug?
Why do you ask that?
Because I want to know. Have you been drinking? How about it, boy?
No. Where would I get something to drink?
Well, now, something's a little wrong here, son. According to what Mr. Lane tells us. Looks like you might have been drunk when the fight started. He tells us that you said something to a young girl in the class. That's what started the whole thing.
You know he's lying?
Is he?
Sure. He's on Larry's side. The two of them are real sick.
That's not what he told us, Dad. From what he said, he's pretty fond of you. Said he couldn't figure out what happened to you lately.
Well, he's okay, but why did he say I was loaded? That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, especially if you weren't. I'll tell you what, Dad. Let's get a traffic investigation car over here and take a tachometer test, huh? Just to be sure.
Why? What'll that prove?
That'll straighten it out once and for all, whether you're drunk or not. How about it, boy? Shall I call the car? Doug?
No, you don't have to do that. I had a couple of drinks. Nothing serious, though. Just a couple of drinks. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Where'd you get the liquor, son?
I don't remember.
No, this won't work, boy. We'll find out. You know that.
Well, I don't see what difference it's going to make where I got it. I've been drinking a couple of years. I know how to handle it. I know what I'm doing.
This Friday? Yeah,
see you a minute?
Well, sure.
What's going on? Something wrong with Larry?
I don't know, son.
I thought he was okay when they took him to the hospital. The nurse said she took care of it. They said he was going to be okay.
All right, boy. Let's go.
Where are you taking me?
We want to talk to you downtown.
Something has gone wrong, hasn't it? Something's wrong with Larry. He's dead.
No, son. Larry's all right. He's burned, but he's going to be all right.
You're lying. I know. You want to take me to jail.
Well, it's not true, son. We just want to find out where you got the liquor.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done anything. A couple of drinks, that's all. What's the harm in that?
Come on, son. You've got a lot to explain.
Okay, take me in. Put me in jail. I don't care what happens.
Yeah, you've already proved that. 2:26 p.m. Frank and I talked to Charles Barlow, the vice principal of the school. He told us the same story that we'd gotten from John Lane. He said that until a few months before, Douglas Lambert had been a model student. He was above average in his classwork and took part in all school activities. Suddenly, and without apparent reason, he had become the number one troublemaker in his class. His attendance record became one of the worst, and his attitude toward his teachers was arrogant and discourteous. The principal told us the same attitude was being displayed by other students in the school. We notified Mrs. Lambert that we were taking him to Georgia Street Juvenile for questioning. We filled in Captain Stein on the development, and then Frank and I questioned the Lambert boy. He was sullen and uncooperative.
I don't know what you want with me. A little fight, that's all it was. Why are you guys trying to make something big out of it?
You've already done that, Doug. Maybe you don't know what you've really done. Maybe we ought to fill you in on a few things.
That might not be such a bad idea. Tell me how I'm a criminal. Tell me I was a bad boy. Go ahead, tell me.
Don't get smart, son.
What do you want me to do? Sit here and listen to you guys yak at me? You expect me just to sit here and let you guys tie a rap on me that I haven't got coming? You got one thing on me. I had a couple of drinks, that's all. A couple of drinks. No harm in that. I don't feel so good. Why don't you guys leave me alone? I got a headache.
Larry McLean's got more than a headache.
So the kid couldn't have started anything he couldn't finish. He wanted to be a big man in front of the class. He was. Now he's hurt and he's trying to blame me. It won't work. Cop, and you know it.
That's enough of that.
I'm a minor. You can't touch me.
That's the trouble with you, kid. You think because you're under 18, the laws don't mean you.
You can't touch me and you know it.
Don't worry, Doug. Nobody's going to touch you. But let me tell you a couple of things. You sit here and figure you're a big man, a real tough kid.
You don't have to tell me.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm getting sick and tired of having kids like you walk around the streets, your minds and hands filthy, bragging about what big men you are. You do what you want. You don't care about what it means to the people around you. How you hurt them doesn't matter. Everything's fine until you do something wrong and we nail you. Right away you start screaming minor, that you're a juvenile, just a kid acting normal. You steal a car for a joyride. An officer starts after you. You don't care who gets in front of the car as long as you get away. You don't let anybody stand in your way. Men, women, kids, they're all the same to you. Run them down. Show them that you're just a healthy kid out for some fun. After all, you're just a kid. The laws weren't meant for you. You're different. Well, there's another kid lying in a hospital right now. He's got real trouble. He got in your way. He didn't feel that you had any special rights. Be a big man, Doug. You go tell him that you knew what you were doing when you threw that acid at him. You tell him that you were just having a little carefree fun. Tell him that you know how to handle liquor. Tell him that he's going to spend a long time with a plastic surgeon because you're just a kid. You tell him that his face is going to be like that because you're just a normal, healthy, growing boy. I hope you're real proud of yourself. I hope you feel good. You burned it right into your brain. There isn't any place you can go to get away from it. All right, boy, let's go.
Wait a minute, Mr. Friday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I acted like that.
All right, you want to try to make things right with Larry? You want to help us out on this thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Where do I start?
Where'd you get the liquor?
A place near school. Kids call it Sam's Club.
What's the address?
I don't know. I'll show you the place.
Say at the club?
Well, sort of. You have to know the ropes before you can get in the place.
What do you mean, the rope?
Well, they only let kids in. You ring the bell to the house, and then when they answer, you stand there with a $5 bill in your hand. That way they know you're okay.
Who is this Sam?
I don't know his last name. The kids just call him Sam.
He run this place all by himself?
No, there's his wife, Inez. She's usually around.
Just these two around the place, then, huh?
Yeah, that's all I know about. It always seemed to me that Inez was really the brain. She was always telling Sam what to do.
How'd you find out about this place, Doug?
One of the kids at school told me about it. He took me there one night. Then after he introduced me to Sam and Inez, I started to go there by myself.
What's it like inside? They have a bar or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. You walk into the living room, and there's a big bar along the right wall. All chrome and leopard skin. Real nice. There's a few tables around and a record player.
They sell anything else in this place besides liquor?
I don't think I know what you mean.
You know what we mean, Doug.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Well, how about it?
Well, yeah, you can buy tea if you want it.
This $5 routine, what happens to it?
Well, drinks are 6 bits apiece. 6 are $1.50. If you want to give them the 5 as you come in, you can have as much as you want. Otherwise, you pay for each thing as you get it.
You always smoke marijuana?
Well, almost all the kids there do.
How about you?
If you don't, the other kids call you a coward.
We still haven't answered the question.
Yeah, I've smoked it a couple of times.
Can you give us the names of the other youngsters who go to this place?
Well, wait a minute. I'll help all I can, but I'm not going to be a squealer.
I don't think it's squealing, Doug.
Yeah, well, you don't have to give them names.
Why not look at it this way, boy? You got trouble because of this Sam and Inez. Now, the same thing could happen to one of the other kids that go to this place. You want that to happen?
No,
Well, the best way to see that it doesn't is to tell us all you know about the place. Isn't that right?
I guess so. I'll give you the names.
Do they allow girls in this place, too?
Yeah, as long as you know the $5 bill gimmick, anybody can get in.
They allow adults?
No, if they figure you're over 18, they won't let you in. Especially at the Saturday night parties.
What kind of those?
Every Saturday night, Sam and Inez throw a party. For $5, you get all you want to drink and smoke. Sam told me once it's a good business. Makes for a better customer relations.
Mm-hmm. You ever see any other narcotics on the premises?
I've never actually seen any myself. I've heard that if Sam or Inez know you real well, you can get a pop of heroin. But like I said, I've never seen it myself. Most of the kids that I know, the ones from school, just go there for drinks.
Anything else you think we ought to know?
No, nothing that I can think of.
How about these two? Either of them drive a car?
Yeah, Sam has a little Nash Rambler, dark green. Once in a while, when we stay over at lunchtime or when we're late getting home, he drives us home or back to school.
All right, Doug. Your mother ought to be here by now. If we need your help in getting Sam and Inez, we can count on it, huh?
Yeah, I'll help all I can.
Okay, son. Let's go.
Say, Sergeant,
Yeah?
I'm sure sorry about the way I acted. Really made a fool of myself. I hope you'll forgive me.
That's all right.
But you'd think there'd be an easier way, wouldn't you?
What's that, son?
To grow up.
We checked the name Sam and Inez through R&I and came up with a Sam and Inez Bailey. Both of them had long records for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Both had served time in the county jail. Douglas Lambert was shown mugshots of the couple and identified them as the owners and operators of Sam's Club. We checked with Captain Stein about picking them up, and it was agreed that the best way would be to catch them in the act of selling liquor and narcotics to juveniles. We talked to the Lambert boy, and he told us that it was the custom of the Baileys to hold a party every Saturday night. He told us that most of the youngsters who frequented the place would be there at that time. He put in a call to the house, but there was no answer. 6:15 p.m. Frank and I drove out to the place. It was a small cottage on the back of the lot. The landlord occupied the house in front. We rang the bell to the manager's house. Yeah? Mr. Halsey? Yeah? Police officer, sir. My name is Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith. How do you do? I'm sorry. Want to come in? Well, it might be better, sir. We'd like to talk to you about the Baileys.
Worst tenants I ever had. I knew they'd end up with the police.
Why do you say that, sir?
Well, I just do, that's all. They got a lease on the house. And if I could figure a way to get them out, I sure would. They're always causing trouble. All those kids.
Yes, sir. Do you have any idea where they are now?
Why, you going to arrest them? I hope so. Maybe I can break the lease that way.
You know where they might be now, sir?
No, I don't know. They shoved off this afternoon. They didn't say where they was going. They just left.
Wonder if you could let us see their house, sir.
Why?
Well, we'd like to look it over. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. What do you want for?
We think they're selling liquor to minors.
Yes, they do a thing like that. The noise they made. Their neighbors on both sides have been screaming.
Can you let us into their house?
You just bet I can. Wait, I'll get the key. Here's someplace. That's with one of those little key rings. You know the kind with a rabbit's foot?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to keep your officers waiting. I know I'm always away. If you want something, you can always lay your hand right on it. And then when you're looking for it... Oh, here it is. See, that rabbit's foot. Well, you can go out the back door this way.
All right, fine.
Hello. What are you looking for? What do you think you'll find back there?
We're not sure, sir. Fine.
Yeah, Joe?
You want to stay out here and let us know if they come back?
Yeah, I'll wait in front of the house.
Now, it's funny about them.
What's that, sir?
Well, when they first moved in, they said they wanted the locks on the door changed. I told them that it'd be okay, but they'd have to give me a key to the place. They had quite a ruckus about it, but I stood my ground. They wasn't going to buffalo me. No, sir. Here, I'll get the lock.
All right.
Okay. Smells like they haven't had a window open in a year, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Look what they've done to this room. They built a bar and everything. You sure were right about them. I think I can break the lease on this. I'm pretty sure. It says in the contract that they can't do any building without my permission, and I certainly didn't give them any okay on this.
Yes, sir. This the dining room?
Yeah, that's it. Just pull those doors back. What's that smell, Sergeant?
I'm not sure, but I think it might be narcotics.
Look, I knew it. I knew it all along. Oh, just wait till he gets back. I'm really going to tell him. I really am.
Rather you didn't do that, sir.
What?
Rather, you didn't let them know that we were in here, and if you know anything about this.
Well, why? You're going to arrest them, aren't you? You're not going to let them get away with it.
No, sir, but we understand they've got a party planned here tomorrow night. If we wait until then, we can make a charge stick.
Oh, you mean they're going to have a drunken ball? The kids here smoking marijuana, taking heroin, and stuff like that?
Well, we're not going to let them go that far, sir. We're going to need your cooperation here, Mr. Halsey.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, sir, we want to install listening equipment in here. We'd like to use your house.
You mean you're going to bug the place?
Well, yes, sir. We'd like to put in microphones.
Well, will it hurt the property? I mean, would you have to put nails in the walls, stuff like that?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Oh, well, then you can do it. Yes, sir, I want to help, Sergeant. That's the trouble with people nowadays. They don't want to help. You just go right ahead and put your microphones in, just as long as you don't have to nail anything in the wall.
All right, sir. If we could go back to your house, I'd like to use the phone if it's all right.
You bet. Closing that so they won't know anybody's been here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. Don't guess if I leave any fingerprints on the door, it'll hurt.
No, sir, I don't think it will.
No. Can't be too careful, though, But then I guess you know all about things like that.
Yes, sir. I'll go around front and get my partner.
Yeah, sure thing. You fellas all work in teams like this?
Yes, sir, most of the time.
Well, I never knew that before.
Do you have any idea at all where the Baileys might have gone? Did they give you any indication at all, sir?
No. I saw them leave this afternoon, just got in the car and left.
Did they take any luggage with them, suitcases, would you know?
Not that I could see, no.
Uh-huh.
Hi, you find anything?
Yeah, the bar's in the living room.
Oh, then what the Lambert kid said was true, huh?
It looks that way.
How long drop the dope in the dining room? How you open the door and smell the fumes?
Marijuana?
Yeah, it smelled like that.
Find any?
No, I didn't go over the place too good, and I thought if we were going to wire the place, we'd better get on it.
Yeah.
If we could just use your phone, sir?
Oh, yeah, you bet. Come on in. Right there, on the table in the hall.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Isn't a toll call, is it?
No, sir.
Well, of course, not going to make any difference. Just thought I'd ask.
Yes, sir.
You figure this will get in one of those detective magazines?
Well, I don't know, sir. We've got nothing to do with that.
Well, of course, I didn't figure that you did, but if it does, I hope they spell my name right. It's S-E-Y.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Some people forget the E, you see.
Uh-huh.
Spell it with just the Y.
2838, please. Asdale, it's Joe Friday. Want to install a ditchograph at 825 North Lucerne. Yeah, 825 North. Mm-hmm. Right away. Yeah, well, you know better than I do. When you see the place, you can figure. Yeah, the house in the front of the lot. What? Oh, maybe 30, 35 yards. Yeah, okay. Right away. Yeah, good. We'll be in the house in front. Yeah, all right, we'll see you then.
All set?
Yeah, Asdale's coming right out.
Good.
You say, Sergeant,
Yes, sir?
I just happened to think of something. Might not mean anything.
What's that, sir?
The other day, I think it was Monday. Yes, I'm sure it was Monday because I just come back from the laundry. I always pick up my stuff on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Well, when I came back, I met Mr. Bailey. He was putting around with the car. I asked him if he was going to take a trip. He said no, but he said he might get out of town for a little bit. I didn't find anything about the roads.
What roads, Mr. Halsey?
Down to Mexico.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action. And now, a report.
The men from the crime lab arrived and installed the listening equipment. A stakeout was placed on the house, but the Baileys failed to return that night. At 8:46 a.m. Saturday morning, the men covering the house called to say that the Baileys had just driven in. Frank and I got in touch with Douglas Lambert and his parents. With their permission, we laid out the plan for that night. It was agreed that the boy would arrive at the house at about 8:30 p.m. When the other youngsters had been served drinks, he would give us a signal by starting in to cough. When we came into the house, he would try to secure as many of the drinks as possible for evidence. We told him that there would be officers all around the house and that at no time was he to place himself in jeopardy with Sam, Inez, or any of the other youngsters. 7:30 p.m. Frank and I took up our positions in the back bedroom of the owner's house, turned on the dictograph, and waited. The Baileys were discussing the party. Sam was talking about how he watered the whiskey. At 8:27 p.m., 4 youngsters arrived. They rang the doorbell, and when Sam opened the door, they displayed the required bill. He nodded and ushered them into the living room.
They did a good job in there, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Really hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Lambert boys should be here pretty quick.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like they're starting anything in there yet, does it?
No.
How long do you figure we wait before we go in?
As soon as he starts the car.
You check with the other men? Yeah, Turner and Brown are covering the back of the place. Lindsay and Carter and a couple of policewomen are parked down the street. You can see the car down there.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, huh? Looks like the Lambert kid now coming up the walk. Yeah, it is. I hope everything goes all right. Let's turn it up a little more, huh? Is that better? Yeah.
I'll get it, honey. Change that record, will you? I heard it 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Doug.
Thanks, huh?
Wasn't sure to see you tonight.
What made you figure that? You know I wouldn't miss one of these.
I just figured you might have gotten a little trouble with everything.
No, it's all right now.
Yeah, well, take it easy tonight, huh?
Sure, man.
Who is it, honey?
Doug Lambert.
Hi, Doug. You having any trouble with that McLean kid?
No, I was telling Sam the cops talked to me for a while. They didn't have anything on me, so they had to let me go.
You didn't tell him anything about this place, did you?
Of course not. You know I wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't dang it. I told you Doug's all right. We can trust him.
I don't think it's worrying me. The cops get right to this place and we really got trouble.
Oh, honey, I tell you it's okay. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's get on with the sociable. What do you have, Doug?
Whiskey, I guess.
Good deal. You want a stick? That's some fresh stuff. Then real good.
Yeah, sure.
That's my boy. You know, Doug, I like you. You're a good kid. Some of the other guys come in here. I guess Inez is right about this jerk. Well, I feel I can trust you. Oh, excuse me. You got to pick the other kids up. Okay, what'll it be? Kid, something in your throat?
I don't know. I just started to
Come on, Mike. Door's locked.
Let's hit it. What's going on? Who are you guys?
Police officers, you're under arrest.
What for? What are you trying to pull?
Hold it, everybody, right where you are.
Did you hear it all, Sergeant?
Yeah, Doug, we did.
Hear what? You in on this, Doug?
I told you not to trust any of them. I told you, but you wouldn't listen.
You want to kill the phonograph, Frank? Where'd you get the marijuana, Doug?
Out of that drawer, there in back of the bar.
There's nothing there.
Right here, Doug?
It was way in the back. Shut up, you.
Al. What about these, Sam?
I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw those.
All right, mister, let's go. I'll get Turner and Brown. They can take care of the kid. Right.
You and your ideas. I told you we shouldn't have come back. I told you.
Oh, knock it off. Shut your mouth, will you?
I told you last night we should have kept driving, but oh no, you figure we got a sweet racket here. You don't want to change it. It's good, you said. Yeah? How does it look now?
Look, I'm telling you, take it easy.
All right, let's go, huh?
It's the way it is, Sergeant. Try to make a living for a woman, make things nice. The first time something goes wrong, she starts to squawk. Never fails. You're riding high, everything's fine.
Him and his living, always trying to build something up, always trying to figure out a way to beat the game. One big deal, one big thing to set him up for good.
Yeah, well, I think he made it this time. Let's go.
The story you just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On January 14th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial. Samuel G. Bailey and Inez R. Bailey were filed on under the Health and Safety Code, Section 11,500, possession and sale of narcotics, and found guilty on 1 count. They were found guilty on 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Violation of Section 11,500 of the Health and Safety Code is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not more than 5 years, or imprisonment in the county jail. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for a period of not more than 1 year. The boy, Douglas Lambert, was made a ward of the juvenile court.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. You get a call that a man has been murdered. His killer is unknown. Your job? Get him. Here's what the tobacco trade press has had to say about Chesterfield's.
U.S. Tobacco Journal, Boston, Massachusetts. Chesterfield cigarettes in the new king size is still maintaining large turnovers in this area. Dealers report that sales continue to climb on this size, and it seems that volume on the regular size has climbed to new heights with its big brother.
And Tobacco Leaf reports from Chicago more calls for Chesterfield king-size cigarettes than for most brands being marketed.
Dealers all over the country tell us no product they ever handled has grown so fast in so short a time as king-size Chesterfields.
King-size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield king-size gives you quantity plus quality. Premium quality.
Chesterfield King Size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other King Size cigarette.
In fact, the only difference between Chesterfield King Size and Chesterfield Regular is that the King Size is larger, contains more of these same tobaccos, enough to give you more than a 1/5 longer smoke.
So remember, Chesterfield is the only cigarette to give smokers premium quality in both regular and king size.
Ask your dealer for Chesterfield, either way you like them. Premium quality Chesterfields, and much milder.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Saturday, May 12th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. It was 8:04 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
That's you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, Frank. I got held up in traffic.
Okay, no problem.
I'll sure be glad when they get that freeway finished, won't you? Around the end of the pass this time of the morning, you can't go more than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, cars really climb up around Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, when we get through tonight, I'm going to go straight to bed. I might not even stop to eat.
All right, what's the matter? Have trouble getting sleep last night?
Well, I wouldn't have had any trouble if I'd had the chance to do it.
What do you mean? I don't get it.
My brother-in-law.
Oh, what do you have to do with it?
A couple of weeks ago, he sent away for one of those courses in hypnotism at home.
Uh-huh.
Book got to the house yesterday right away. He's got a new career, going to go into the hypnotism business.
All right.
Yeah. Book tells how if you do it right, you can have full control over people, make them do things you want, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, he's got to practice on somebody. We just finished dinner, and I was all settled down to watch television. He comes in with this little book, a little bitty mirror and a candle, and the first thing he lights the candle and tells me to look at it. Concentrate, you know.
Yeah.
I told him to go take a run and jump, and right away Faye joins in and says I don't want him to get ahead. And I said something about the fact that he could use one, and then it started. Ends up with me sitting there and him trying to control my will.
Well, did it work?
I don't know. Waved his hands in front of me and flashed the mirror in my eyes, and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And right away wakes me up, wants to know how it felt, what it was like when he put me under. I told him he didn't, and I just went to sleep, so he kept trying to use what this book calls post-hypnotic suggestion. You know, while I'm asleep, he says something I'm supposed to do when I wake up.
Oh, yeah.
And then he woke me up and waited for me to do it.
And what do you want you to do?
I never found out. He just sat there and looked at me. Every time I'd doze off, he'd wake me up so I could do whatever it was he suggested. And around 1:30 this morning, he gave up. He said the book wasn't any good and he was going to get his money back. All the time, Faye's sitting there just watching, miserable. If I'd known what it was he wanted me to do, I'd have done it to get him off my back.
Never did find out what it was.
No. This morning, wouldn't even say hello. Figured I wasn't cooperating, I guess.
I get it. Homicide, Friday. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, well, what was that address again? Yes, ma'am, we'll be right out.
Something for us?
Yeah, a woman out on Burn Street, 6425, says her son's been murdered. Frank and I drove out to the house. It was a typical residential neighborhood. When we got there, a crowd had gathered around the front of the house. A radio car had arrived, and the officers had gotten the people back from the lawn and the entrance of the house. We went in and met the woman who had placed the call, a Mrs. Edith Curtis. She was a woman in her late 40s with graying hair. As we talked to her, she kept wringing a handkerchief in her hand.
Jeff was cleaning the gun. Middle of the week, he looked at it and said that it needed cleaning. He's always home on Saturday, so this morning he said he might as well get at it. After breakfast, he got out all the things he uses, put them on the table in there, and started to clean the gun. I was in the bedroom tidying up the place. I heard these loud voices and then a shot. I went to the living room, and I saw this man standing there. As soon as he saw me, he turned around and ran for the door. I yelled at him. But he didn't stop.
What'd you do then, ma'am?
I went over to Jeff. He was just lying there, still and quiet. I could see where he'd been shot. I knew he was dead, and then I called you. Before you got here, the other men, the ones in the car, got here. But it was too late. My boy was dead. Terrible. Just terrible.
Yes, ma'am. I'll go see if my partner's finished with the call, Mrs. Curtis. Would you like us to call your family doctor?
No. Very kind of you, but I'll be all right. This house has been full of tragedy. Last couple of years, nothing but sadness. I'm used to it. I guess the good Lord makes you used to it. If he didn't, I don't think a mother could go on.
Ma'am?
My youngest daughter, Alice. 2 years ago, this next month, the 24th. She killed herself, Sergeant. It almost killed me, too, losing her.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I say I'm used to it. I got to the point after Alice was dead where I couldn't see any reason for going on. Then I figured that the good Lord must have wanted it this way. And I wasn't the one to say it was wrong. Alice was going to have enough trouble as it was.
I don't think I understand.
Suicide, Sergeant. The one unforgivable sin.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Joe. I called them. Checked with the fellows in the car. They're looking around the neighborhood.
Miss Curtis,
Yes,
I wonder if you could give us a description of the man you saw. We'd like to get out a call on him.
of course. I saw him pretty good, just standing there looking at me.
Well, how old a man would you say he was?
Maybe 35 or 40. Not any older than that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. How tall would you say he was?
Taller than you.
About how much taller?
Oh, maybe a couple of inches.
Well, I make him about 6'1" or 2. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's pretty close.
About his weight. How heavy do you think he was?
I'm not very good at that. I guess about 180, around there.
Uh-huh. What about his clothes? What was he wearing? Could you remember?
He had on one of those blue denim outfits, you know, the trousers and the jacket, light blue.
Mm-hmm.
Then the coat had that dark blue trim, knitted around the bottom and collar. Had on a white shirt, no tie. And a pair of those shoes with the real thick soles, that rubber.
Mm-hmm. Anything unusual about him?
I don't think I know what you mean.
Or did he have any marks or scars? Anything that might make it easier for us to identify him?
No, not that I could see. But you won't have any trouble identifying him. I'll tell you if you have the right one or not.
Did he have a car? Would you know that?
I don't think so. I didn't see one.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. I'll call us in right away, Joe. Get out the local and APB.
Yeah. Miss Curtis,
Yes.
could you tell us exactly what time the shooting took place?
Not exactly, but I'd say about 7:45.
Uh-huh. Did this man say anything to you?
No, not a word.
You never saw him before, maybe around the neighborhood, the stores, in the street someplace?
No, I never saw him. I know that. But if I see him again, I'll know him.
All right, ma'am.
I'll be right back, Joe.
Okay. I hope you won't take offense, ma'am.
What's that, Sergeant?
Well, you don't seem too greatly concerned about your son's death here.
I thought I'd explain that to you. I told you that I have to figure that it's the Lord's will.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well tell you, Sergeant. You'll probably find out anyway.
What's that, ma'am?
Well, Jeff and I had a few arguments. Nothing serious, but we did have words.
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
Well, I told you that my daughter took her own life.
Oh, yeah.
She lived with us here in this house. I thought it was a happy home. I found out it wasn't. I found out too well.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Alice, that's my daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, she was going to marry. She'd met a young man who worked in an aircraft factory. She seemed to think he was very nice. I couldn't see much in him. I told her so. We had quite a few rows about it, once when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
On that night, the row, Alice's young man left, made quite a fuss about my trying to run the children's lives. Told Alice that he'd marry her right away that night. But when they were married, he didn't want to have anything to do with Jeff or me.
Well, did Jeff take any part in this quarrel?
No, my yes. Finally, the young man stormed out of the house. Alice was in tears, just seemed to go to pieces. That night, she took an overdose of sleeping pills. I'll never forget when I called her for breakfast. Terrible. That's not doing any good. I'm sorry, Sergeant.
That's quite all right, ma'am. Now, you said you and your son had several arguments. Was it about this engagement thing here?
Yes, after Alice's funeral. Jeff seemed to sulk around the house. Then at night he'd go out and drink quite a bit. He seemed to think that I'd caused Alice to do away with herself. I tried to tell him that I didn't, that I was just as sorry as he was. I told him how badly I felt, but it didn't seem to do any good.
Well, have you heard from Alice's fiancé since that night?
He was at the funeral.
Well, what's his name, Mrs. Curtis?
Dudley. Bruce Dudley.
Do you know where we can get in touch with him?
I think Jeff had his address. I can look for it.
Thank you.
But you don't think that Bruce had anything to do with this? I know it wasn't him. I know Bruce. I know what he looks like. It wasn't him in the living room.
Well, we just want to talk to him, ma'am.
Of course, he might have hired someone else. No, I'm sure Bruce had nothing to do with it. Even with what he did say.
Ma'am?
That night, when they had the fight, Jeff told him that if he didn't get out, he'd throw him out.
Mm-hmm.
When he left, Bruce said that someday our meddling in other people's lives was going to backfire, that it might take some time, but that we'd be repaid. And that look in his eyes when he went through the door, Sergeant,
Yeah.
maybe he did do it. He looked mad enough to kill us both.
9:12 a.m. The coroner arrived and removed the body. The men from the crime lab crew went over the place. A complete set of pictures was taken before the body was removed. Leighton Prince went over the rifle on the table and the cleaning apparatus. Frank and I noticed that the tablecloth on the living room table had been on the floor when we got to the house. Mrs. Curtis had told us that her son had grabbed it as he fell to the floor. We talked with the neighbors. One of them, a Mrs. Alvin Kemper, said that she had been watering the lawn between 7:30 and 8 a.m., but that she had seen no one enter or leave the Curtis house. She told us that she had heard frequent and loud arguments between Mrs. Curtis and her son. Frank and I drove out to the address of Bruce Dudley. It was a modern one-room apartment on Riverside Drive in the San Fernando Valley. We rang the buzzer a second time and waited.
Looks like he's not in.
Oh, what time you got?
12:17.
He's probably gone out. Come on, we can check the manager.
Yeah?
Well, Mr. Dudley?
Yeah, what do you want?
We're police officers. We'd like to talk to you.
Okay, come on in. Just got up, out late last night. I don't feel at all well. I'll move those clothes and sit down. I'm going to put a pot of coffee on. Oh, I feel like a troop of midgets ran barefoot over my tongue.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
What do you want to see me about?
You know a Jeff Curtis?
Yeah, I know him. Hey, what'd you say your names were?
Well, my name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
You got any badge? Something to prove that you're cops?
Yes, sir. Here's my ID.
Sergeant Joseph Friday. Okay. Now, what's this about Jeff?
He's dead, Mr. Dudley.
Dead?
Yes, sir.
How'd it happen? Accident?
Well, we're not sure.
He didn't kill himself, did he?
Why do you ask that?
I just thought he might have. Sister killed herself. Thought he might have done the same thing.
You know of any reason that he'd do something like that?
Oh, no, not that I could name.
I understand you and Mr. Curtis didn't get along too well.
We got along all right. Oh, when Alice and I split up, there were some words, nothing serious.
Well, the way we got it, you were pretty sore at him.
Yeah?
Yeah, I understand that you and he had quite an argument. He was ready to throw you out of the house.
You've been talking to his mother. She's been throwing lies around again.
Well, is it true? Did you and Curtis have an argument?
Yeah, I got nothing to hide.
You been out of the house this morning?
No, why?
Have any way of proving you were here all morning?
Just got up. You know that. You guys got me out of bed. What are you trying to prove?
Just want to know if you can account for your time, that's all.
You think I had something to do with Jeff's death, is that it?
We didn't say that.
No, but you meant it. Oh, excuse me. I got to get the coffee. You want some coffee?
No, thanks.
How about you?
No.
You don't mind if I have a cup, huh?
No, sir, go right ahead.
Thanks. Let's face it. You guys really think I had anything to do with what happened to Jeff?
We're not paid to say what we think. We try to get the facts.
Yeah. But if I was you, I'd concentrate on Mrs. Curtis. I wouldn't put it past the old bat to kill her own son. Check around the bars in the neighborhood. Talk to his friends, I'll tell you. His mother was scared to death that he'd marry one of these days, walk out on her. Used to be on his back all the time about the girls he went out with. I knew some of them. Alice and me used to double date with him once in a while.
They ever have any arguments about this while you were around?
A couple of times, yeah. If you don't believe me, why don't you check with Harry? He'll tell you the same story. Lord knows he went through enough of it.
Harry?
Yeah, Jeff's brother. He got married, let's see, about 5 years ago. Moved out of the house, lock, stock, and baggage. He went through a thrash with his mother about it. He'll tell you about it. Used to come over to see Jeff once in a while after he got married, but the old lady caused so much trouble that they started to meet at a bar. Got to the point where Harry wouldn't go in the house. Check with him. He'll tell you.
You know where we can get in touch with him?
No, I haven't got the address. Look it up in the book. Harry Curtis. I think it's out on Selma, someplace in Hollywood.
All right, sir. Where do you work?
Meyer Aircraft. I'm a toolmaker.
You work the day shift?
Yeah, I'm off today. Hey, what's this for?
Just wanted to know where we could reach you.
You still think I had something to do with it, huh?
No, we didn't say you did. Your name came up and we had to check it out.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of times when Jeff and I didn't get along. I won't try to tell you that there weren't. I'd never do anything to hurt him. He had enough on his hands with that mother.
Yeah?
Sure, one night when we came home from a date, Alice, me, Jeff, and his date, we were sitting around the kitchen having something to eat. His mother came in madder than a wet hen, raised Cain, told Jeff to get the woman out of the house. Jeff told her he wouldn't have her talk to the girl like that. He thought quite a bit of her. And the old biddy walked right over and slapped the girl across the face, told her to leave Jeff alone. Said she'd rather see him dead than tied up with a girl like that.
2:40 p.m. We drove back to the office. There had been no replies on the local or the APB. We checked the names of Jeffrey Curtis and Bruce Dudley through R&I. There was no record on Curtis, but Dudley had been arrested twice for LAMC 4127C, being drunk in a public place. He'd served sentences in the city jail on both charges. We checked with the coroner's office, and they told us that Curtis had been killed by a .38 caliber bullet. It had been fired at close range into the back of his skull. The bullet was booked for evidence, and we made out a dead body report. We put in a call to the brother's house, but we were told that he was out of the city, and he wouldn't return until sometime that night. We left word for him to call our office as soon as he returned. We checked on the suicide story given us by Mrs. Curtis and found that an Alice Curtis had taken her own life by an overdose of sleeping pills 2 years before. 5:20 p.m. Frank and I drove out to talk to Mrs. Curtis again.
You want to look at Jeff's room, don't you?
Yes, Miss Curtis.
This way.
When we were here this morning, you didn't say anything about your other son.
Harry? Well, you see, Officer, Harry doesn't care much for me. I know it's hard to believe that a boy would desert his own mother, but that's what Harry did. They got married, and right away his wife started to cause trouble between us.
A rifle your son was cleaning this morning.
Oh, yes. Those men from the crime lab, I think they said they took it.
Yes, ma'am. Did your son do much hunting?
Well, he used to do quite a bit before Harry got married. They used to be great pals. Mother couldn't ask for a better pair of sons. And when Harry left home, Jeff sort of gave it up. He cleaned the gun when he had to, but he didn't go after game anymore. Then, too, he was afraid to leave me alone at night.
Ma'am?
Well, we've had a lot of trouble with prowlers in the neighborhood. Had to call the police a couple of times. They didn't find anybody, though.
These your son's clothes, ma'am?
Yes.
This man you saw this morning, did you notice if he had a gun?
Yes, he did. It was a revolver. When I came into the room, it was still smoking.
Did your son keep any other firearms in the house?
Oh, no, just the rifle. I wouldn't have any other guns in the place. I don't like them.
You had any call to go up in the attic lately, Mrs. Curtis?
What?
The attic, ma'am. Have either you or your son had any reason to go up there?
No, I don't think we've been up there since we moved. Could I get you officers a cup of coffee or anything? I've got some nice fresh cake. Like a slice of that?
No, ma'am. Thanks just the same.
Oh?
Yeah.
Look at here.
Yeah.
Look at here on the shoulders of these suits in the back. You see this dirt? Looks like it came down from that door to the attic.
Yeah. Let me get a chair and we'll have a look.
What's this all about? I told you we haven't used that attic. Don't you believe me?
We'd just like to take a look if you don't mind, ma'am.
Well, maybe I do mind.
It's just going to take a minute, ma'am.
I think you officers have sure got your nerve. I tried to be nice to you, help you out. Isn't enough that my boy's dead. Now you have to come in here and tear my home apart.
There's something up here, Frank. I think I can reach it. Yeah, here it is. Get my pencil. You ever seen this, Mrs. Curtis?
No. I haven't got any idea how that gun got there. Doesn't belong to us.
What do you think, Joe?
I don't know. .38 caliber.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
And now a report every smoker should hear.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report published about any cigarette.
A responsible consulting organization reports a study by a competent medical specialist and staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfields. For 6 months, a group of men and women smoked only Chesterfields, 10 to 40 a day, their normal amount. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and end of the 6 months, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including x-rays, and covering the sinuses, nose, ears, and throat. After these examinations, the medical specialist stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6-month period by smoking the cigarettes provided.
remember this report and buy Chesterfields, regular or king size. Premium quality Chesterfields, and much milder.
We took the gun back to the city hall. It was checked for fingerprints, but none were found. We checked with pawn shop records, but the gun had not been registered. By checking with the manufacturer, we got the retailer's name. It had been sold to the victim, Jeff Curtis. The gun was turned over to Russ Camp for the routine check through ballistics.
Just a minute until I take it out.
Right.
Okay. Place it into the comparison knife. There we are. What's the matter now? Striations here.
Got a make, Russ?
Yeah, the match.
11:46 p.m. Harry Curtis called the office. He was surprised to hear of his brother's death, but said that he would be down to see us in the morning. Frank and I checked out, and the next morning we drove out to the house on Burn Street and picked up Mrs. Curtis. We talked to her in the interrogation room.
This is perfectly ridiculous. I don't understand what you're trying to get me to say.
Well, maybe if we lay it out for you, ma'am.
Yes, that might do it. At least it would be something.
All right, when we walked into your house yesterday morning, you said that nothing in the house had been touched, that everything was just as it was when your son was killed. Is that right?
Yes, I guess I said that.
I'd like to have you be sure one way or the other, ma'am. What did you say?
I said that. I hadn't touched anything. Nobody did.
Uh-huh. Would you tell us what your son was doing when you left the room?
I told you he was cleaning the rifle.
On the living room table?
Yes, that's right.
What did you say he did after he was shot?
I said he fell down.
Did he touch anything as he fell, brush up against anything?
Well, when he fell, he grabbed the tablecloth, pulled it down with him.
Yes, ma'am. Well, then maybe you can explain how it was that all the things he used to clean the rifle and the gun itself were still on the table.
What?
How is it those things didn't come off the table when he pulled the cloth off?
I don't know what you're trying to get me to say.
Well, we'd like for you to tell us the truth.
I'm telling that.
All right, ma'am. When the crime lab went over your house, they found two places in the kitchen floor that had been filled in with plastic wood. The job didn't look very old.
Well, what's wrong with that? Jeff took good care of the house. He might have tried to plug up some place where ants were getting in.
When the men from the lab dug up the patches, they found two .38 caliber bullets underneath. They checked them with the bullet that killed your son. The bullets came from the same gun.
I don't know what you're talking about. What does all this show?
You talked about the prowlers. Said you had trouble with them in the neighborhood.
That's right.
What action did you take to stop this?
I called the police. Had them come out and try to find the person who was causing the trouble.
When did you call the police last?
3 weeks ago.
We've checked the reports, ma'am. There's no record of anyone having called the police to check prowlers in that neighborhood for the past 6 months.
Are you trying to make me out a liar? Is that what you're trying to do?
We're trying to get the truth.
Frank?
Yeah, Joe.
You want to check the office and see if Mr. Curtis is here yet?
Yeah, sure.
You brought my son here?
Yes, ma'am. We've got to get the truth to this.
Well, why did you have to get him involved in it?
Well, as I said, ma'am, we're trying to find the facts.
You don't believe what I've told you?
Well, no, ma'am. You've made it a little difficult.
How can you say that?
Well, first you tell us that nothing was touched, yet the physical setup doesn't make that possible. You deny knowing anything about the gun when we find it, but we find two bullets that have been fired from the same gun embedded in the floor of the kitchen. You told us about prowlers in the neighborhood, but there's no police record of it. Your next-door neighbor says she was out in front of her house all morning, but she didn't see anyone enter or leave your house. We find the murder gun up in the attic. You told us you saw the killer leave the house with the gun. Your son died instantly. Now, can you tell us who put the gun there? No, ma'am. There's too much here that doesn't gel.
They got you into this, didn't they, Harry?
Yes, Mother?
They're trying to tell you that I killed Jeff. They want me to tell them that I killed my own boy. Tell them I wouldn't do a thing like that. Not my own boy.
Afraid I can't, Mother.
What do you mean you can't?
The officers just told me about it.
Well, who are you going to believe? These policemen or me, your mother?
You don't give me much choice.
What?
I love you, Mother. You got to believe that. I know that whatever you did, you thought was right. I know you didn't mean to hurt Jeff. I know that.
And you think I killed him, too? Don't you? Harry, give me an answer. You think I killed Jeff, don't you?
Yes, Mother.
Well, I did. I didn't think I meant to do it. I think I just wanted to frighten him. He was running around so much. Those tramps who was seeing terrible women. I had to keep him home. I had to keep him with me. He was all I had. I'm not young anymore, Harry. You went away, then Alice. Jeff was all I had. I didn't want him to leave, and he was going to. We had an argument. He was cleaning the gun. I got the revolver. That way I knew that I'd always have him with me, that he wouldn't leave. I pulled the trigger. Then I knew what I'd done. That Jeff was gone, too. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. You've got to believe that, officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe me? That I just wanted my boy? I wanted to keep him. That's all any mother wants. I tried to keep my boy.
Or maybe that's what was wrong.
What do you mean?
You tried too hard.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 4th, trial was held in Department 87, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Each of our Dragnet case histories is based entirely on facts taken from authentic police files, and everything we tell you about Chesterfield is based on facts, too. Chesterfield, for example, was the first to name its ingredients. Chesterfield tells you what it's made of, because you should know what gives you the best possible smoke. Now, that brings me to the report that George Fenneman and Hal Gibney read earlier. That, too, is based entirely on facts. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfield. First such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember this the next time you buy cigarettes and ask for Chesterfield. Regular or king size, premium quality Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
Edith A. Curtis was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree and was sentenced to the state penitentiary for women, Tehachapi, California. While serving her sentence there, she died from natural causes. Murder in the first degree is punishable by death or confinement in the state penitentiary for life. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Frazier. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Herb Ellis, Helen Klebe, Whit Connor. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Tomorrow, sound off for Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, only cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. Naval intelligence tells you that 2 Marines have been picked up for the shore patrol. They're reported sick. 1 is in critical condition. Foul play is suspected. Your job? Investigate. Here's what leading tobacco publications have had to say about king-size Chesterfield.
U.S. Tobacco Journal, Atlanta, Georgia. Chesterfield king size is going strong. One jobber reordered twice this week, in addition to his regular order.
And the Chicago Weekly, Tobacco Leaf, reports more calls for Chesterfield king-size cigarettes than for most brands being marketed.
The reason for king-size Chesterfield's amazing success is this. All king-size cigarettes give you quantity. But only Chesterfield King Size gives you quantity plus quality. Premium quality.
That means Chesterfield King Size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king size cigarette. The same fine tobacco as in regular Chesterfield. Enough more of this tobacco to give you over a fifth longer smoke.
So remember, Chesterfield is the only cigarette to give you premium quality in both regular and king size.
Buy 'em either way you like 'em. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, July 10th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. It was 7:58 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Morning, Joe.
Hi.
Just get in?
Yeah.
Anything in the book?
I'm looking.
What's the matter? You hacked about something?
No. Why do you ask that?
I figured you saw about something. What'd you do, take a sour pill? You keep this up, you won't be asked to pose for toothpaste ads.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, Joe. Tell your Uncle Dudley. What's the matter?
Dallas had court deal yesterday. It was miserable.
Thing you and Gaffney been working out?
Yeah, the white glove bandit came up while you were out on vacation. Spent over a month on it. Covered it from every angle.
Yeah.
It looked like we had the guy any way he turned. We had an idea how much he'd taken on each job. Lee thought he traced him on every move he made on each of the deals. We figured we really had the guy. DA's office thought so, too.
They quit him?
Yeah. Let him walk right out. 12 men, good and true. Let that cheap hoodlum walk right out on the streets a free man.
Well, that's where it goes sometimes.
Is there Mr. Friday here?
Yes, sir. I'm Friday. Is something I can do for you?
Well, I'm Richard Houston, Naval Intelligence. Deputy Chief Brown directed me to you.
I see. Well, it's my partner, Frank Smith, Lieutenant Houston.
Hello, Smith.
Like, sit down, sir. What is it we can do for you?
Well, we got a weird one. That's why we thought your department ought to be in on it. About all I can tell you is just the skeleton of the thing. We don't know all the details. We haven't gone into it completely yet. We figured you fellows would like to be in on it from the beginning. Looks like it's going to be a police investigation.
Yes, sir.
To begin, I should go back 3 weeks ago and tell you the story as near as we've been able to reconstruct it.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Well, a couple of Marines left the base. They'd just gotten back from Korea, both on a 48-hour pass. We figured they came up here to L.A. They had a lot of back pay in their pockets. We don't know where they started, but they ended up in the chief hotel. We got a call from the shore patrol early Monday morning. They'd gotten a complaint that the two boys were causing a disturbance in the hotel. They picked them up and found they both were in a pretty bad way. They had them shipped to the Naval Hospital down at Long Beach. By the time they got there, they were really rocky.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but I don't quite see just how we're connected with this.
Well, I'm getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
All right, I'm a little long-winded. Anyway, last night, the boys had been AWOL for over 2 weeks. They were brought into the hospital, like I said. Doctors did what they could, but it was too late to help. One of the boys died late last night. We're not sure about the other one. That's where you come in.
Sir?
They were both poisoned.
9:06 a.m. Frank and I talked with Captain Lorman, then we checked out a trip car and left for Long Beach. When we got there, we talked with the doctor in charge. He told us that it would be later that night before the boy would be completely out of danger. He said, however, that we could talk to him if we phrased our questions so that the answers could be kept fairly brief. We looked over the boy's record. His full name was Jack Wayne Walker, age 24. He'd enlisted in the Marine Corps on January 14th, 1950. He'd spent almost a year in the Far East, and his service record had been good until this time. The record of the victim, PFC Edward Monahan, was pretty much the same. The boys had both come from the same town in Arkansas. The date of their enlistment was the same. They'd served overseas the same time. At 3:48 p.m., the doctor ushered us into Jack Walker's room.
Who are you?
Police officers, Jack. We'd like to talk to you.
What's it about? I haven't done anything. At least I don't think I did.
No, it's not that. We'd like to find out what happened while you were up in L.A.
Well, I killed my buddy up there. That's what happened. You heard about that, didn't you?
Yes, we did. That's what we want to talk to you about.
Poor Ed. Year in Korea. Guys taking pot shots at us. Cold, mud. And we got to come back here to get it. I didn't trust that little crumb. I knew we shouldn't have had anything to do with it.
Well, you shouldn't have trusted who, Jack?
Stubby.
You know the rest of his name?
No, just Stubby. I just can't believe it about Ed. He shoved off for L.A. going to have a last fling. Ed was getting married as soon as we got home.
All right, if you could just start right at the beginning.
Oh, sure. Well, first, we both had a 48-hour pass. We figured to go to L.A., like I said, for last fling. A few drinks, look at some of the lights, have a little fun. Sort of a bachelor party for Ed before he got hitched, you know. Well, we pulled into town. Let's see, I think it was Saturday morning. A couple of buddies told us about a joint up there where we could have some fun.
Yeah.
Well, we head up there, and nice little place that hour in the morning, I guess about 10:30. Well, we start in to drink. It gets pretty foggy after that. Like little parts in a jigsaw, you know. You sort of see a little bit of everything, but the whole picture ain't there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we hung around the place for 2 days, and then it all really goes black. The next thing I remember, we woke up in some flea bag. I remember looking at the calendar on the wall. We was already a couple days AWOL. Ed and I talked about what we should do. And then we get to trying to think up an excuse for the CO for being AWOL. With our CO ain't easy. He's had experts try it. Ed says he'll figure out something, so we start for the bus depot, get back to base. On the way, we pass this bar, and Ed says, well, maybe we ought to stop and have one more for the road, so we do. And I don't remember much for a couple more days. And I remember once we stopped and watched the guy get tattooed. Ed and I got talking about it, you know, whether or not we should have it done. Finally, we figured it was kind of kid stuff, so we didn't. I remember that because it was right after we left the tattoo place, we went to this bar where we met Stubby.
Well, this is the fellow that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's him.
And you met him in a bar?
Yeah. Ed and I were sitting there trying to figure out what we was going to do, you know. We were pretty broke by this time, and then, too, we was over 2 weeks AWOL. Anyway, sliced it, we had big trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we walked into this place. It was about 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon. At least near as I can tell, that's about what time it was. The whole deal gets kind of foggy. We sat down at this bar and ordered a drink, and just sitting there minding our own business, trying to figure what we ought to do. And then this Stubby joker comes up, sits down next to Ed, brings a drink with him.
He was in the bar when you came in, is that right?
Yeah, well, at least I think so. I didn't pay much attention, but he had a drink when he come up to Ed and me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he got to talk about the Corps, and next thing we know, he's setting up the drinks. The way we was fixed, as long as he wanted to buy, we wasn't going to argue.
Did they seem to know this Stubby in the bar?
Yeah, the girl who waits on tables called him by name.
All right, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, well, this Stubby kept going on about how he liked the Corps and how he'd won a whole flock of citations in Korea. Told us all about the time he'd spent in Japan. First, we thought he was just throwing a bunch of coconuts at us, but we'd ask him about places in Korea and things you could only know if you was there. He'd come up with the answers all right, but even with all that, there was something that just didn't ring true with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, long about 8 or 8:30 that night, Stubby got in a thrash with the bartender, something about the price of the drink, so he suggested we go up to his place and get a jug, you know, and drink up there. Well, I wasn't too hot for the idea, but Ed said we had nothing to lose, and we didn't have a sack for the night, and there wasn't much dough left, so we shoved off with him.
Where'd this Stubby live?
A hotel down on 5th. I'll tell you how to find the place.
Same place you were picked up in?
Yeah.
We got the address there.
Oh, okay.
Well, what happened when you got Stubby's room?
Well, we cracked the jug, sat around drinking for a while, and then Ed and I went to sleep. I tell you, the next morning we had the biggest hangovers in the entire United States and Canada, both of us. We felt miserable. Ed started beefing about the cheap booze Stubby'd rung in on us. That's when he tried to tout us on them pills.
What pills are those?
Oh, them things supposed to relieve hangovers.
Oh, you mean the kind they sell in drugstores?
Oh, no, not them. Stubby told us about that one. He'd come back to the States. He'd stood some duty in a hospital and said that while he was there, he got them pills. Said there was a special prescription, that they was great for head shrinking. He wanted us to try them.
Did you?
Well, no, not right away. He kept after us, though, kidding us about being big, tough Marines with a hangover. And then he took one of the pills, leastwise we thought he did. So Ed and I figured then we didn't have anything to lose.
You took one of these hangover pills then, did you?
Yeah, we both did.
What happened then?
Well, nothing right away. Stubby said it'd take a little time for it to take effect. We got up and started to get dressed. Ed and I thought we'd better get back to the base, you know. We'd probably be in enough trouble as it was without worrying about a hangover.
Yeah. You left the room?
No, we was just getting our stuff together, and Ed took sick. Said he had an awful pain in his stomach, like a cramp, you know. And we asked Stubby if the pill could have caused it. He said no. Must have been the booze. Well, right about then, I was getting ready to mop up the place with this Stubby. I figured sure he'd given us a Mickey. I couldn't figure why, though. Then it hit me.
That pill, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Real bad cramps in my stomach. I got real dizzy. The room started to go round. And we asked the stubby to call a doctor, and that's when we knew he was really in trouble.
How's that?
Well, we knew then he was nuts off his trolley. And neither of us could walk. Ed doubled up and passed out, and I could hardly keep awake. We both just lay there on the floor. I kept asking this bum to get us a medic.
Mm-hmm. Did he?
No, he just stood there and laughed at us. Laughed like a crazy fool. He kept saying we was big, strong Marines. We should be able to take a little stomach ache without running to a doctor.
At no time did he make any attempt to get you medical help?
No, just like I said, he just stood there and laughed at us. Then he got real mean. Got crazy leer on his face. Said he'd show us that he'd fix us up good for what we'd done.
Well, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. All I thought about was getting Ed and me to a doc. About this time, I didn't much care what the little screwball did. Then it really started harping on how he's getting even with us. I tried to get at him. I'd have killed him if I could have. I tried to get at him, but I fell and went out, I guess. And that's when he said that thing about that we wouldn't be the last ones he'd get.
What?
Well, he said like this, you guys are the first, just the first. But there's going to be more, a lot more.
We continued to talk to Jack Walker. He gave us a complete description of the man he'd known as Stubby. And going over the story again with him, there were a few changes in it, but none that couldn't be accounted for by his condition. We got the address of the bar where he'd met Stubby. We checked with the doctor, and he told us that both boys had been given a powerful corrosive poison. He went on to say that it was a miracle that Jack Walker was still alive. 9:26 p.m. Frank and I drove back to Los Angeles. We checked into the office and ran the name Stubby through the moniker file in R&I, but we found nothing. We got out a local and an APB on the description and the name. The stats office started to run on the M.O. Frank and I checked the hotel on 5th Street, and the manager showed us the room, but he said that it had been cleaned and occupied since the two Marines had left. Leighton Prince went over the room, but failed to come up with anything. We took the hotel registration card and booked it in as evidence. The man had signed his name as Alton Richard. The manager gave us the same description as the one we'd gotten from the Marines. We ran the name through R&I, but we failed to come up with any new leads. There'd been no replies to the broadcast, and the stats office had finished the run and had come up with 4 possible suspects. These were checked out, but they led us nowhere. 2:30 a.m. We checked the bar, but we found it was closed. Wednesday, 8:14 a.m. We briefed Captain Lorman on the developments, and then we went over to again check the bar where the two Marines were supposed to have met Stubby. The place was deserted except for one man drinking a beer. The waitress was sitting in a rear booth filing her fingernails. Frank and I went back to talk to her.
Yeah, something you want?
Well, police officers, miss. We'd like to talk to you.
Cops, huh?
Yes, ma'am. This is my partner, Joe Friday. My name's Smith.
Smith. Boy, does that sound phony.
Here's my ID card.
Yeah, it's Smith, all right. What do you want?
Do you mind if we sit down?
No, go ahead, live.
Thank you.
What's this all about?
Do you work here, Stubby?
Yeah, most of the time.
What's your name, miss?
Vera. Vera Gay.
Well, Miss Gay, were you working here around the 8th, the 9th, or the 10th of July?
Yeah, and you can make it Vera.
Mm-hmm. You know most of the people who come in here regular, do you?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Wonder if you look at this description and tell us if you know the man here.
WMA. What does that mean?
White male American.
Yeah, WMA. 36 years, 5'7" to 5'9", 155 pounds Stubby.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know him. Comes in here all the time. Nice guy. Loud when he gets drunk. He's always nice to me, though. Tells me I should be in pictures. You know the movies?
Yes, ma'am. Have you seen him today?
No, he hardly ever gets in before maybe noon, 1 o'clock. Hey, this doesn't bother you, does it? Am I filing my nails?
Not at all.
It does bother some people, you know. Like running a piece of chalk down a blackboard.
Miss Stubby, does he have any other name? Did you know it?
Yeah, Paul Rogers.
That's another one, Joe.
No. Do you want to go ahead, miss?
I went out with him a couple of times. Finally gave it up. I couldn't go that route.
What's that, ma'am?
All he talked about was either him in the Marine Corps and what a big hero he was, or else how he was going to get me in pictures, you know, movies.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't come out to California to get in the movies. Well, I came out to be a private secretary. Only those jobs are a little hard to get, so I work here. Make enough for coffee and cakes. And when a job comes along, I'll take it. Work in a big office, nice boss. Who knows, he might even marry me. Well, that movie hokum for me. No, sir, not your little Vera.
Did you work on the night of the 9th? It's the night before last?
Let's see. Yeah, I was in.
You happened to see the Stubby Rogers that night?
Well, I got to think about that. Let's see. That was the night we had the fight just before closing. Yeah, he was in earlier.
Do you happen to notice if he was with anybody?
What's that all about? He do something you want him for?
No, we just like to talk to him.
Yeah. Well, if he did anything, we had nothing to do with it. This is a good place. We got nothing to do with the people who come in. Got the price of a drink, they get served. We don't ask for trouble.
Oh, we aren't going to cause any trouble, miss. We just want to talk to this Rogers.
Yeah, well, as long as we aren't rung into it.
Do you remember if he was with anyone?
Yeah, he was with a couple of Marines. Left with them, had a beef with Sam. He's the night bartender. Complained that the drinks were too high. I don't know what he was crying about. He's been drinking here a long time. Never had problems before.
You saw him leave with these two Marines then?
Yeah, 3 of them walked out. I think, actually, they sort of floated out. The 2 kids were really boiled.
You remember what time it was when they left?
Oh, that'd be kind of hard to tell. We were pretty busy.
Well, it's pretty important, miss.
Yeah, let me think. I guess maybe around 8, maybe 8:30, around in there. It's just a guess, though.
Do you have any idea where this Rogers lives?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Hotel on South Hill.
Can you give us the address?
Yeah, I got it in my purse. I should have known he was a phony, always saying that's how he could get me in pictures, in movies.
Yes,
Don't come that way. Of course, you understand I didn't come out here to get in pictures. I came out to be a private secretary. Here's the address. Here, keep it. I won't be using it anymore.
All right, thank you, Miss Kay. Here's our card. If you think of anything more you think we ought to know, we'd appreciate a call from you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure appreciate your help.
Well, you never know. Maybe I'll need your help sometime. Matter of fact, you might be able to lend me a hand. Producers. Movies.
Frank called the name Paul Rogers into the office, and a supplementary broadcast and an APB were gotten out. A stakeout was arranged on the bar. We went back to the city hall, and a check through R&I on the name Paul Rogers netted us nothing. We drove over to the hotel on South Hill. The manager told us that Rogers was not in his room. He went on to say that Rogers had not been using his room regularly for the past week or so, but that he had been in a couple of days before in the company of a soldier, and that as far as he knew, the soldier was still in. In the company of the manager, Frank and I went upstairs. The manager unlocked the door, and we went in. A minute, Frank. There's someone in bed.
Yeah.
Come on, you.
How about it?
Just a minute.
How about it, Joe?
I don't know. He's dead.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action. And now a report every smoker should hear. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report published about any cigarette.
A responsible consulting organization reports a study by a competent medical specialist and staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfields. For 6 months, a group of men and women smoked only Chesterfield, 10 to 40 a day, their normal amount. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and end of the 6 months, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including x-rays, and covering the sinuses, nose, ears, and throat. After these examinations, the medical specialist stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6 months period by smoking the cigarettes provided."
Remember this report and buy much milder Chesterfields, regular or king size.
Wednesday, July 11th, 12:40 p.m. We called the coroner's office, and then we got in touch with the crime lab and the photographers. After the pictures had been taken, the body was removed. The victim was a soldier in his mid-30s. On the nightstand beside the bed, we found an empty pill bottle and a suicide note. The note was booked as evidence and turned over to Don Meyer for comparison with the handwriting taken from the hotel registration card that Rogers had signed. The men from Leighton Prince went over the place thoroughly. They came up with several classifiable prints. Fingerprints found on the bottle belonged to the victim. There were several other sets in the room which were not identified. The crime lab went over the room, and they went back to the lab to make their analysis. All officers in the area were alerted to be on the lookout for Rogers. Frank and I talked to the manager of the hotel, a Henry Corey. He told us that Rogers had lived in the hotel for the past 4.5 months. He said that Rogers was quiet, kept pretty much to himself, and for the most part was a good tenant. He said that on several occasions Rogers had gotten behind in his rent, but that he'd always managed to come up with the money. The manager told us that in the conversations he'd had with Rogers, the main topic had been the Marine Corps and the suspect's record overseas. Rogers presented himself as an armchair general, constantly calling down the way the situation was being handled. He would refer to his own exploits, but when questioned about his leaving the service, he became vague and evasive. Additional handwriting samples were obtained and sent to Meyer. The manager told us that the latest victim had come in with Rogers the night before, and that at the time he'd been pretty drunk. They'd gone upstairs, and when Rogers had left in the morning, the manager had assumed that the soldier had gone the night before. 3:20 p.m. Frank and I went back to relieve the stakeout at the bar.
Back again?
Yes, Miss Gay.
Sit down.
Thank you.
It seems like every time I see you, I'm doing something with my nails. This morning filing them, now I'm filing them again. I'm going to put polish on them after this. I guess you think I'm pretty vain.
No, not at all, miss.
A new color called frosted rose. And pretty?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of iridescent, what the label says. To sprinkle your nails with stardust.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a pretty bottle, too. They sure put things up nice nowadays. Uh-oh, here comes your boy.
That's Rogers.
Yeah.
Yes, Stubby, well, it be.
Bourbon, Coke.
How's it going, Stubby?
Same old six as before.
Yeah, pretty dull.
You're doing a great business.
No, it's early yet. Here's your drink. It'll be 4 bits.
There you go. All right, tastes good.
All right, Frank, let's go.
No trouble now.
Not unless he makes it.
Hi, fellas. Something you want?
You Paul Rogers?
Yeah, who are you?
Police officers. We'd like to talk to you.
I don't want any trouble in here.
No, there's not going to be any trouble.
Always fights. Why is it everybody comes into a bar and starts fights? Ain't there someplace else to be?
All right, come on, Rogers.
What for? You got nothing to hold me in.
We'll talk to you about that, too.
Well, let me finish my drink.
No, afraid not. Let's go now.
Look, I said I was going to finish my drink. Don't lean.
Let's can it, mister, and go.
I said I was going to finish my drink.
All right, mister, on your feet.
Nothing on him.
All right, let's take him to the office.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Sure appreciate it.
Well, what's that?
Thought for a minute there you were going to have a fight.
We took the suspect back to the city hall. Then we checked the name through the Marine base in San Diego. Lieutenant Richard Houston called back to say that Rogers had received a court-martial and a dishonorable discharge in January of that year. He'd been tried by a military court on a charge of stealing alcohol from the hospital pharmacy and selling it to the patients in the hospital. We stopped in handwriting analysis, and Don Meyer took an exemplar of the suspect's writing. When we checked by the office, there was a message from Sergeants Bill Cummings and Harry Hansen stating that their investigation had shown that the death of the soldier in Rogers' room was suicide beyond any doubt. 7:46 p.m. Frank and I talked to the suspect in the interrogation room.
Terrible thing, treating a veteran like
All
this.
right, let's save it, Rogers. There's a few questions we'd like some answers to.
I got nothing to hide.
All right, what were the conditions for your discharge from the Marine Corps?
What do you mean?
Did you get an honorable discharge or a dishonorable discharge?
I had a little trouble. Lousy officers never did understand what the problems of the enlisted man were.
What do you do for a living, Rogers?
I work.
Where?
Around.
You have a steady job?
What do you mean steady?
One you've held for, say, more than 6 months?
Haven't been out of the service that long.
Where'd you serve in the Corps?
Japan, Korea.
How long are you there?
About 4 or 5 months.
Why'd you come back?
I was wounded.
How?
What do you mean, how?
Just that. How were you wounded?
Well, I wasn't exactly wounded. I had my feet frostbit.
Mm-hmm. According to this here, you went AWOL and got lost. When they found you, your feet were frozen. Is that right?
What's that you got?
Your record in the Corps.
You got a lot of nerve digging into that. Just what do you got me in here for anyway? I done nothing that puts me in line for this kind of
Do
treatment.
you know a couple of Marines named Ed Monahan and Jack Walker?
Monahan? Walker? No, I don't think I know.
You ever register in a hotel on 5th Street?
No, I live over on Hill.
You know a soldier named Marty Wilkin?
What's he got to do with it?
We found him dead in your room.
You're cracking up.
Yeah, sure, Rogers. We just dreamed we found that body.
Nothing to do with him. Met him in a bar. He said he wasn't feeling too good. Said he didn't have a place to sleep. I let him have my room. Something wrong in that? Be a little kind, and now even that gets you in trouble.
You sure you don't know a Marine named Ed Monahan?
Positive.
There's something wrong, Rogers. Girl at the bar says she saw you leave the place with 2 Marines. They could have been Monahan and Walker.
Well, maybe I know them. I might and still not know their names.
You didn't take them up to a room you'd rented in a hotel on 5th Street?
No, I told you once I never lived on 5th.
Checked with our handwriting man. He says your writing matches some samples we found on the hotel register.
Maybe I write like somebody else.
No, we don't think so, mister. How about Jack Walker? Maybe you know him, you just didn't remember him.
No, I keep telling you I don't know them.
Vera says you do.
Well, she's lying.
Is she?
Sure she is. She's trying to save her own skin.
From what?
She doesn't want to stand a rap for murder, can't you see?
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
I'm saying nothing until I see my lawyer.
You sure you don't want to tell us why you did it?
I got nothing to say.
Makes it tough, Roger.
What do you mean?
Just makes it rough, that's all. Looks like you're going to have to stand a murder rap.
Yeah?
That's the way it looks.
Well, I didn't mean it.
I didn't. I just wanted to get even, that's all. Just get even.
For what, Rogers?
For the way the court treated me. Kicked me out. I didn't do anything really wrong. Cop a little alcohol, that's all. No harm done.
They look at it a little different.
Yeah, that's the trouble. Stinking brass, they're all alike. They don't care what happens to us, the guys in the field. Tried to get a job. I looked everywhere. I just didn't fit. Seemed like everywhere I went, I got into trouble. I wanted like it was when I first went in, like it was after boot camp. Walking down the street, girls looking at you, a Marine, a big man. They took that away from me. They wouldn't let me enlist again. I tried, but they wouldn't let me. You can understand what that'd do to a guy, can't you?
I don't know.
It tore me apart. Right then, I decided to get even with all the stinking gyrenes in the world. They wouldn't let me in, and I hated them.
Yeah. Remember what happened the day you gave the two boys the pills, do you?
Sure, remember all of it. Oh, they cried for a medic. They weren't big men then. No, sir, they sure weren't.
All right, Rogers, we'll get a stenographer.
Tell me, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Did I get both of them?
No, Walker's going to be all right.
He the young one?
That's right.
A real nice kid. Lucky, too.
Is that right?
Yeah. No worries. Really got it made. Uniform, that's what does it. Uniform makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, well, don't worry. You'll get one.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 13th, trial was held in Department 87, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. In modern crime detection, the working detective depends on scientific research. He relies on the services of trained experts in ballistics, communications, fingerprints, to name just a few. He's interested only in facts. And as a smoker, you should be interested only in facts. That's why the report you heard earlier is so important to you. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember it. And next time, buy Chesterfield. Regular or king size, premium quality Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
Paul M. Rogers was tried and convicted on one count of murder in the first degree. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Virginia Gregg, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, it's possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Tonight, it's Barry Craig, confidential investigator on NBC.